Welcome to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a great show on tap for you tonight. Haunted Ohio, and Ohio is a very haunted state. We have a great team with us, the Ohio Paranormal Syndicate, which I love the name for reasons I'll disclose later. With me, as always, is my co-hostess, the lovely Vanessa Hogel. Unfortunately, our chat shenanigator, Shauna, is not with us this evening. She got called into work. So Donna Gorton will be Cheshire cat chatting in the chat, whatever she does. She'll be catting the chat.
Well, somebody's got to do it.
Right. So thank you, Donna, for taking care of things down there. We do have some, a couple things real quick. First of all, White Rabbit Notification Squad, do your thing, share it out there, make sure everybody gets notified, because we know that YouTube sometimes just doesn't send out those notifications like they're supposed to. So have at it, and thank you very much. If you're new to the channel, of course, please go ahead and subscribe. Click that little bell icon to get notifications of all of our upcoming shows. Which reminds me, I got to turn on Periscope too. I'll do that here in just a second. And the Haunted Road Media Paracon on June 9th is coming up less than a month. So we're out of vendor tables. Those are all gone. But we still have Paranormal Investigation tickets for that night, $35. But the event with all the speakers, all the vendors, the Goldenrod Showboat exhibition, the live music, all that, only $5. And those tickets, of course, are still available. So, Vanessa, I'm looking forward to it.
And you can't get them at the door.
You can get them at the door, too. Yeah, you don't have to pre-order them. You know, it's they're all available at the door. So let me get Periscope up here so we can at least chat with our people down there.
Mike, I'm just going to go ahead and remind everybody that, again, there are going to be a lot of Haunted Road Media authors there, and those that have contributed to other books with Haunted Road Media authors. By all means, please bring any of the books that you've purchased already. Bring them with you. Let us sign them. Let us personalize them for you. And again, like I said on the last show, give us the honor of taking pictures with you. Let us show our appreciation and get bragging rights by all the cool people that we know. This is really important to us and for every author I know that's going to be there. And our new authors like Katie Hopkins. I mean, I know she's super stoked about it. Also for myself, I have extremely limited spots for readings, and I've been contacted a lot for it. While I'm there, I'll be leading off the speakers, covering how to spot a fake psychic. That should be fun.
That'll be really interesting, yeah.
Don't make me get bitchy. Don't make me get bitchy, okay? But we're going to talk about how to spot a fake psychic. Katie is actually going to do a demonstration with me, and I'm going to teach you everything you need to know when you're paying somebody to do something like this for you and what to look for. And on that note, when you want a reading from me, the spots are limited. Please contact me and see about getting one set up. Other than that, that's all I got.
All right. Well, we have one other thing, and that is to announce a winner. Because last week we started off our 6,000 subscriber giveaway, and the deal with this was a little bit different. I got this idea from the King of Random channel, was to basically have you guys share out whatever you wanted to from the channel, whether it was a video, a playlist, the channel, what have you. Rack up all those interactions and, you know, make it a little more competitive, a little more fun. Apparently he had some pretty good results with it, so we tried that here. And the results are in for the past week, and the winner is, do you have a drum roll, Vanessa?
Wheel of Fortune.
Naomi Jacobson. Woo! Congratulations, Naomi. So what she did, she shared out the St. Joseph's Hospital paranormal investigation that Shauna and I did back last summer. It included a really good walkthrough with Greg Fakatic. And so she had total, I think it was, what, 38 interactions here. So there were 20 likes, 15 shares, and I say 3 comments because I'm one of the comments thanking her for sharing it. So, and I see that John Ward is right there as one of the people who liked on that. So thank you, John. You helped Naomi. So congratulations, Naomi. I'll be in touch with you to get you your T-shirt, ghosty, and I don't have the books in hand. I always forget something. And one of the Encounters with the Paranormal books. So congratulations.
You got your pants on.
Yeah.
I had to.
Thanks.
I had to.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, we both have pants on today.
This is true. Well, I'm still healing up, so I've had a reason to have them off most of the day. It's kind of interesting. So I ended up working from home again today because I went into work yesterday and my supervisor was like, just work from home tomorrow. So I appreciate you trying to tough it out. Just go. Just work from home tomorrow. So I was like, okay. So I've been working from the couch most of the day. Yeah. So there we go. In any case, let's get to our guests instead of going down that route. So the Ohio Paranormal Syndicate. So guys, you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves? And there's Tom McNicholas with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Tom. He says we have the best people here, and we really do. We really do. So yeah, Ohio Paranormal Syndicate. You guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about? I've met you guys twice at Ohio State Reformatory, Madison Seminary, and I think you're a great young group of investigators. So tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Hillary. We kind of all were really interested in doing paranormal. It was something that we kind of all figured out when we were working together. It was more like a casual conversation, like, hey, this is what we like to do, and kind of all formed kind of there on out. And I don't know, we're just a bunch of really awesome people working together. So it makes it really interesting to be able to kind of mesh really well and kind of investigate and do things that you love with people that are really awesome too. So
yeah, and I'm John. So basically what happened was we kind of got together last June or July, just to kind of get our feet wet. We went to a public ghost hunt down at the Ohio State Reformatory, and just kind of were trying to get a feel for each other. We had a couple friends with us, but after the investigation, we kind of met up afterwards just to kind of review evidence with each other. And I threw out the idea, like, why don't we just make a team and just kind of go from there and try to investigate other locations with each other. And it's been great ever since. Started out as a skeptic for a long time and kind of transferred into a believer about 6 years ago. So definitely glad I did. And I've had a lot of really awesome experiences, and I know these two have as well.
My name's Justin.
And I'm Jill. We actually were sitting, Justin and I, when we were not dating, before we started dating, and we're talking about paranormal and things like that. And I think it was, we said Spirit Box or something, and Sean Gilmore from Ectovision Paranormal was sitting next to us. He used to work with us. And he's like, are you guys talking about paranormal? And we're like, yeah, we are. And he's like, you've got to watch my group. And so that's what started us, was, picking up on stuff Sean did. And then, of course, John and Hillary, us all working together, it was really just kind of a no-brainer. We all kind of clicked. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how I met you guys, was through Sean, and Sean is down there in the chat. How you doing, Sean Gilmore?
Hey, Sean.
So, and that was at the Ohio State Reformatory, which is a fantastically haunted location, lots of history. I really did, it's kind of funny. We've been at two places together. We really haven't actually investigated together because I've kind of been off doing my own thing while you guys were investigating. So, so let's start there. Let's start with Ohio State Reformatory, and tell us a little bit. That's Madison Seminary. I do want to get into Madison Seminary a little bit because of that. I think you got off the Spirit Box. But let's get into Ohio State Reformatory here a little bit first, because this is where I first met you. So what did you guys think, and what were your experiences there?
When we first were doing just the tour, we went up into the third floor admin building, which, you don't think anything would be going on in admin. We weren't in there maybe 2 minutes, and all of a sudden, I feel like hot, and my knees are starting to feel weak. Right here in my throat, I can just feel like I just want to, I'm going to lose it. I started, vision blurring, and I had to grab for the wall. And I'm like, I've got to get out of this room. Everybody else, there's probably 25 people in the room. Everybody else was fine. We get down the stairs, and as soon as I'm out of that room, it's like a weight just washed off me. It was gone. And so I've kind of learned when I start to pick up that feeling, maybe I don't need to be going into this room. Something's telling me I don't want to be here. There's something that I'm not sure how to quite deal with just yet. So that's kind of like my warning signal, if you will, that I probably shouldn't be going in here yet.
That was definitely the first kind of, and we were just on the tour. So it wasn't even like we were investigating it. It was just like the tour. And we're just like, okay, so this is our first time kind of all going out together, like an investigation, like our first kind of like ride. And we're just like, if it's already happening right now, then we can't wait for later. So
and it didn't disappoint. It really did.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Now, I have just a quick question because I pegged you right off the bat as being the sensitive of the group, at least the major sensitive of the group. When you felt that, what did you smell?
It just smelled, it didn't smell sulfury, it just smelled bad, like rotting, weird, just not a good thing. And right before we had walked in the room, it's something crazy, and everybody probably thinks it's all in my head, but my ear felt like it was plugging up, like it felt like I needed to pop it, and I'm on a 3rd floor. There's nothing that should be affecting it. So every place that we went in Ohio State Reformatory, like right before we went into the library, and I heard my name in my ear, and it wasn't anybody physically alive in the room that said it. It's that ear popping thing that's like the precursor to the sick starting. So it's
when
like,
that happened, I have a quick question for you, and then I apologize. We'll get to something else. But just because I can see you going through there, and I have to ask, when you started to feel that pressure in your ear, in your left ear, did you feel like you had somebody standing directly behind you, almost as if they were right on your back?
Yeah, but I attribute it to there being people in the room behind me because you were actually behind me. So I mean, I don't know if I think that there was anything else there right off the bat, but I mean, he was standing right behind me, but he wasn't on me.
We were kind of like
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I don't think there was a whole bunch of people, or we were kind of like the trail end of the last people to walk through the tour, so there wasn't a lot of people behind us. So it was just kind of like us four, kind of like the back end. And I remember seeing her, I'm like, are you okay? And then it kind of all went from there.
Well, I don't want to scare you, but it sounds like the beginning stages of channeling. So enjoy that. It's super fun.
Yeah, it's happened a couple of times, but I felt like when we went back there on a private later, I was like, I don't want to go back in that room. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going back in there. And I'm sure I made a total fool of myself because I'm like, you're not scaring me out of this room. When I leave is when I want to leave.
And
you're not.
There you go.
Good.
I'm fine here. I'm perfectly fine until I feel like leaving. And I never had another problem. We've been in that room a couple times since.
Yeah, we've been there a couple times, but you got protection.
Yeah, and I do have protection now. I carry my black tourmaline, and I also went and got a selenite. So,
Check out my page for some other goodies.
Okay.
Yeah, Vanessa's on top of all that stuff, which is great. And I also find it interesting that you said the library, because I also used to be a hospital up in there, and it's been one of the more active spots for me is in that area. So, and I know Shauna, even though she's not here with us right now, has had a lot of interaction up in there too. And we just did the tour when she was in this area, and we caught a couple EVPs just walking through one day on a daytime tour. So yeah, it's a very, very active location. So happy to hear you guys also experience some things there. But yeah, check out Vanessa's stuff.
Definitely.
It's funny you bring up the library too, because the very first time we went there on that public hunt, we haven't really talked about this too much, but do you know that little back corridor when you first walk in there, and it's got like its own, like there's like 3 separate rooms, and it's, you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
Mike? Yeah, so I was back there, and I was sitting in a chair with my back to the rooms behind us, and the first time we were there, a rocket's thrown at me, startles me, I run out, whatever. So we go back a second time, and we go back up there, and it's gonna be silly, but I felt this intense presence as I was walking back there, and I'm creeping back, and they had a ladder that was back in the back of the room.
Sorry. My bad.
So they had a ladder in the back of the room, and there was a blanket draped over the 6-foot tall ladder, and it looked just like this. I'm standing in the corner, and it just scared the heck out of me, and definitely bolted due to a ladder. So that was fun.
You know what? It happens. It happens. You said it had 3 rooms?
Yeah, it was like like a corridor of like 2 or 3 different rooms that are kind of all open together.
It's like that room that with the ladder was the closet.
The middle one's the
Yeah.
worst.
Like a meeting.
Yeah, the middle one was the room I was sitting in when the rock got thrown at me. And then the back room was with the ladder, which was kind of funny. But.
Yeah. So we have a $10 super chat from Jen. She says, to sunny days and Haunted Road Media. So thank you very much, Jen. Really do appreciate that. Judy Wilson has a question for you guys. She wants to know what's the most active location you've been to.
I think we can all kind of say one that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. Madison Seminary is by and far the most active location that we've investigated to date.
Okay.
It's in Madison, Ohio.
Well, do we want to get into that, or you have anything else we want to talk about with OSR?
Was there anything else you guys want to talk about with OSR?
I would say with OSR, most of the time, all the activity was directed towards the
females, yeah.
women. Yeah.
Yeah, our friend Caitlin, we were down in the basement under solitary. She had a rock thrown at her. We were only 5 or 6 people in the room, and you can hear on all of our EVPs the whoosh, and then you hear it hit the floor, and hear her like, oh!
It was pitch black down there,
Yeah.
you know.
And then, of course, me hearing someone right behind me saying my name in my ear, and me asking everybody, was that anybody in here? And it wasn't, of course,
Yeah.
and then we hear it later on the EVP, and you hear me asking, did somebody hear that? Did someone say my name? So we've had lots of little things like that, but it's usually just the women.
It's more directed. I mean, you guys have gotten scratched. You know, me and John have gone off and done whatever we could to try to get something.
Responses.
Yeah, and it's always directed at you guys. So.
Yeah, we could
Which
just be
makes
standing
sense.
there and just hair feels like it's being tugged, or like a scratch walking through solitary. It's always something with us. We don't even have to be provoking or even saying anything, and it's automatically
Because
happening.
Lord knows I'm not a
towards us.
provoker. No, I'm a respectful, let's go in and just, thank you for spending time with us, and we'll be on our way, and we'll leave you to your own. That's my approach, so
Yeah.
I definitely don't do the provoking.
Yeah, and I mean, and even our style of provoking is a little different. It's not like the stuff you see on TV. It's more like just off the wall questions that people might not think to ask, and it'll just generate some responses every now and then. So.
But you bring up a really good point, and I did a live feed on this the other day because I have a very important question to ask you. The ladies tend to get most of the activity, correct?
Yeah.
That having been said, the interaction or the activity that you're getting, do you always feel threatened by it?
No.
Okay, that's what I'm going to lead into this other thing now. When you say you have a very oddball set of questions, different things that are off the wall, considering how they pull the energy to them, and that they're the ones that are most affected, I would highly recommend something that I was telling people to do the other day. Have your list of questions, but have answers written next to them, knowing how certain individuals, genders, races, ages, mentalities would respond to those questions. Because what we're running into a lot, what I've seen a lot, is when people think that it's something negative or a negative entity or a demon or something like that, a lot of times it's somebody with a diminished mental capacity. It could be a young child. It could be a 30-year-old autistic man with the mentality of a 5-year-old. Could be anything. And sometimes when the interaction is forced or is forceful, it's simply because they're trying so desperately in the only way they know how to get your attention. So if you have those lists of questions and you already know what the answers should be, then when you're given your answers or the feeling or whatever, you can kind of gauge what you're dealing with and then proceed in a fashion that will be acceptable to them. And the interaction you'll get will be through the roof. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I had to get that out there.
Oh, you're good, Vanessa. You're good. We have a $9.99 super chat from Mickey Dole. Thank you very much, Mickey Dole. Absolutely appreciate that. We do have a couple of questions for you guys. I'm going to actually ask them in reverse because the one is specific to OSR, so I want to get that one in there first. From Dawn, a spooky. She changed her name from Spooky Spectacular to Spooky. Yeah, she shortened it a
My
little
girl.
bit. All right, she wants to know, did anything follow you guys home after your visit to OSR?
No.
No, I mean, typically at the end of every investigation we do, Jill's kind of the leader in this aspect, but she'll kind of close out the session and say, you know, we thank you for your time and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you want to say what you say.
You know, it's basically a prayer of like, thank you for letting us be in your space. We've appreciated you interacting with us and sharing what you have with us. We are going to be leaving now. We'll probably see you again, but you have to stay here. You can't follow us home. And that's before anybody steps foot out of the building. That is what I do every time we go anywhere usually.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good.
So we haven't had anything so far, knock on wood. We're not having anything follow us home.
Well, and that's great because this next question actually plays right into that from Jocelyn Climaco. I hope I said the last name right. How do you prepare yourself before you go to haunted places?
Ooh, that's a good question. You guys do anything in particular to kind of get ready?
I have just basically one of those things that I'm like, okay, I'm going to get through this. This will be fine. We're going to just go in there. We're going to do our normal investigation. It's all, for me, it's all mental preparation. Like when we went to St. Joseph and we were in the talk with Melinda Carver, she kind of did the whole, you know, engulfing yourself in a great big ball of light, be it, you know, divine light or the power of the universe. And I think that that's something that I want to incorporate just because I think that there's a valid truth to it. Anything that you believe in, you're giving it power. So if you believe in it, like me curing my black tourmaline and my selenite, I'm enabling that with what I believe. So that's something that I do.
Very, very, very true.
Yeah, I think we've been saying for a while that, you know, whatever you put a faith in that's going to protect you, as long as you have that astute faith, then it's going to protect you. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you could carry around a pack of ketchup, and if you believed in it. True story.
True. I think it's just a little harder to believe in a pack of ketchup. But it could happen. It could happen.
I've met some Fruit Loops.
I'm sure.
Plenty of rest and have snacks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We overload on snacks. I don't know if Mike ever told you about that. But.
You guys do bring a lot of snacks. Yeah, and you're very kind because you offer, hey, if you want any, and I snagged a couple, but you know it's very, very kind of you. Absolutely.
But that is extremely smart, and it's something that's overlooked by many groups, is when you're expelling the type of energy it takes to communicate, because it isn't just them expelling energy, it's you as well. Absolutely. So when you're putting yourself and your energy on the line like that, you have to resource, you have to put it back into your body. And I mean, I learned that the hard way. I ended up in a ditch.
Oh, wow.
You know, I was so drained. Yeah. The only time I've ever driven to a location, so drained that I ended up in a ditch on the way home. So you're being extremely smart and responsible in doing that. So kudos to you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the snacks help. Chocolate specifically helps for sure. So for any beginning investigators, bring along a little chocolate.
Chocolate never hurt no one.
So Sean Gilmore is down there at chat making a remark about how spirits at OSR do particularly like the women. So, considering that most were imprisoned men, I can believe that. So did you guys venture into any of the like individual cells there in the cell blocks?
Yeah, not too much when we did our private investigation with you guys, but during like the public ones, I mean, we were just constantly bouncing around because there were so many people. We just tried to isolate ourselves and we were moving around a lot. But
a lot of the solitary cells is probably where we spent most of our time.
Yep.
Not so much out in the east or the west wing, but more in the solitary.
But we did do a little bit in the west cell block. I think west cell block, right? But I did have one EVP, you know, talking about those off the wall questions. I mean, they don't really have toilets in those cells.
It's all broken down.
Yeah. So I asked.
We're all in the toilet room.
Yeah. So I asked the question. I'm like, "Where's your toilet?" And we got an EVP response back. I don't have to bleep it, but it says "you bleep." You F word. Yeah. My response. So
they weren't real happy about the toilet not being there and him noticing, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, understandable. However, I don't know how many solitary cells there are in there, but you went in one where the person actually wasn't guilty.
Really?
Yeah.
we did go into, I know into one, John was in another one, y'all had gone on, and you were listening, so I think at the same time. And I just was in there being quiet and just trying to, you know, feel if I could sense anything at all, because I'm just not going to go in there and start talking. I want to see if something tries to make me understand what it's going through before I start going, hey, what's your name? Who are you? You know, I'm just going to sit there and see if anything does feel like interacting before I even open my mouth.
This one was filled with sadness and shame.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sad. I do have to throw this out there, just scrolling back through the chat to see if there's, and there are a couple more questions. But Candy Orton back on the pack of ketchup. She says, the power of tomato compels you. That's great, Candy. Thanks. So Shay Carroll, and Shay Carroll's representing Beyond the Light network, who, well, so is Candy, where we also simulcast. So we're on Periscope. Of course, YouTube is our main deal, and then Beyond the Light network on Spreaker. So, but Shay Carroll asks, how long have you been investigating as a team and separately?
Honestly, we all started together last year about June. So, I mean, we're relatively new, but we really love it. We're very passionate about what we do. And, I mean, we try to investigate at least once a month if we have the funds available or other
Time
things
off
available
work.
to link up with
Right.
work and all that stuff. So.
I think my whole life I've been just intrigued by, you know, the paranormal in general. It's always just been something I've been fascinated with, and up until finding other people to go out and experience it with, you know, it was just something I was interested in and never went out and seeked it, you know.
Right, but it's always been there for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Except for this one. He didn't believe.
Except
when
for,
we
well,
first
John was
started-
a skeptic, yeah.
Yeah, John was the skeptic for
But
when I
that's
first started
good.
dating him. He completely. I would tell him stories about, you know, my experiences in the past, and no, it's not, nah, until he had his own experience, and then
That's when
flipped his
everything
switch.
Right.
But it's good to have skepticism, even Mike and I. And
Oh, sure.
look what we do for a living. You know, I'm a skeptic psychic. I mean, the two can coexist. You have to have a healthy level of skepticism, because not everything is paranormal and not everything isn't. There are many shades of gray. So that's actually a good thing to have.
Okay.
Mama said.
I'm going to, because I want to get into a couple of other locations you guys have been to, so I'm going to hang on to a couple of these other questions here because they're good. But let's get into Madison Seminary. We'll come back to a couple of these questions. So I do have that audio piece, John, that you sent me. So let's go into a little bit, talking a little bit about Madison Seminary, some of your experiences there, and then we'll play that clip. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like I said earlier, it is absolutely the most active location that we've investigated up to this date. There wasn't a whole lot of times that we were investigating there, regardless if it was the asylum or, you know, the laundry room or whatever room we were in. We were getting something going off, one of our devices lighting up, EVPs all night long. But the clip that Mike's getting ready to share with you guys, we were up in the asylum, and that is reported to be the most haunted location in this building, which is on the 3rd floor. And it's kind of separated into two sections. There's the rec area, and then off to the right is where they kind of housed all the mentally disabled, or whatever you want to call them. But there was one room in particular where, you know, our tour guide Trent had kind of let us know that there was a very aggressive spirit back there. And I had tried filming with Justin in that room with both of us, and nothing was really happening. So I tried an experiment where we didn't have any cameras rolling. I just had my recorder, and it was just me in that room. And, you know, I tried to side with the spirit and say, you know, I don't think you're mean or anything like that. And as you guys will see and hear on this recording, I mean, it's just intelligent responses by talking to my questions, which freaked me out at the time. But as it went on, I got more and more comfortable, oddly, which was kind of strange.
And Vanessa, this is actually the room that when you were before the show and you were saying, I believe, you know, from what you were feeling that, you know, 3rd floor, you go to the right, it's on the left-hand side. This is that room that happened.
Wow.
So we're going to play the clip. Guys, you're not going to be able to hear it. They'll hear it on YouTube. You guys won't be able to, since you already know what it is. I'll play it twice.
Send it to me after.
Yeah, I'll send it to you after. You guys, yeah, Vanessa, you're not going to be able to hear it. So, where do I have the clip? There we go.
Do you have anything that you want to tell me?
Okay, and we'll play it one more time for the viewers.
Do you have anything that you want to tell me?
All right, now my feedback on this, because John sent it to me, and my feedback to him on it, I mean, you guys know my opinion on spirit boxes. I'm not big on them. However, I have been around them when they have, legitimately worked. And what I found really interesting about this particular clip was that the voice isn't in the cycling of the radio. The voice is in the white noise. And so that, to me, makes this much more distinctly a voice than the potential of some sort of radio bleed over. So what did you guys get out of it? I know you guys have analyzed it a lot more than I.
We were never honestly able to figure out what it says. We all have different opinions. And, with it being someone in the psych ward, it's possible that it might have just been their own language that they might have spoke. I couldn't tell you. It doesn't sound English to me. It sounds kind of like Barkame, I don't know. It's really strange, though.
It's definitely something that we listen to on repeat over and over, and we're just like, I couldn't even give you a guess on what it was potentially saying. It was just something that we're just like, stumped us.
I'm going to try. I'm going to pull it up on my phone on YouTube.
Yeah.
Put it up to my ear. Give me a minute.
Is it still playing on? Well,
no, I'm going to rewind on YouTube.
Oh, I guess you probably could. Okay, so Vanessa's going to rewind. Yeah, so that was up on that third floor where I know I experienced a lot up there. So kind of while Vanessa's bringing that up, kind of walk us through a little bit, what was going on beforehand, and then you said it kind of lightened up after that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, me and Justin, we had tried, and I don't know if maybe, and I confirmed it with Trent too, but the spirit in that room, for whatever reason, doesn't like to be filmed. I didn't know that at the time, but when me and Justin were in there with a camera and a couple of devices rolling, nothing was happening. So I just tried the theory of maybe some spirits don't like to be filmed, and pulled the camera, and Justin was kind of waiting outside. But that's when things started to kind of happen a little more. Like I had intelligent knocks in there. We tried the spirit box session, which you guys just heard. And I mean, just the activity when I was in there by myself was crazy. I don't know if because I played the nice guy role with that spirit, after people had been told it was aggressive, I think maybe people antagonized it and he didn't like it. But I played the friendly role, and I think maybe he connected, or she, whoever, might have connected with me. And from that point forward, I was drawn to that room, even though I was uncomfortable at first. But yeah, I mean, it was highly active between the knocks and then the voices we got through on the spirit box.
And that whole area back there, I mean, when he opened that door and we went to go back there, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And
yeah.
Normally I don't.
Yeah, just for those of you that have never been to Madison, when you walk up into that third floor, you're walking into the rec area of what was the asylum floor. If you go off to the right, there looks like a set of barn doors that are painted white. And it's just, you wouldn't think there was anything back there, but when you open that door, there comes the creepy, 3D psycho carpeting tile that's on the floor.
Yeah, that tile is really weird. That was pretty trippy.
And in all of those rooms, there's an L-shaped hallway, and all these rooms break off, and it just gives off a very interesting vibe. Like when we first opened it, he looked at me and he's like, "No." But he did go back there, and it's
not a lot. It's not a very large area, but it was really intense back there.
Yeah. Even on Mike, you sat in the dentist chair back there for a whole seconds.
Yeah.
He did.
It was cold. It was really cold to sit on that chair.
I've never been so cold in an investigation in my life. It was so cold.
That was pretty chilly. So did you guys get anything else up there? Because I was hearing footsteps, and then there was like some shadow play going on, and it was a different room where I was getting some interaction. So anything else up there?
We got stuff on the lower floors.
Yeah, the lower floors.
Lower floors.
I mean, mostly in the asylum. I mean, it was the spirit box session and then me in that little room where we got most of our evidence.
Or the one that told us to leave. There.
Yeah. The spirit box told us to leave, and
we're like, you want us to leave? And it said leave. So we're like, okay, and we left.
It was kind of like a play up to that, because at that point in time, I just felt like something, it was like pressure on just like the left half of my forehead. And I'm, just sitting there, we're just asking questions, just not doing anything out of the ordinary. And I just felt like pressure on my left side. And I'm just like, well, that's really weird. And they're all looking at me, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fine. And that's when we started getting responses through the spirit box telling us to leave. And that's when Justin had asked, do you want us to leave? And it clearly said yes. And so we're like, all right, well, now it's our time to respectfully leave.
I have a question.
What'd you get, Vanessa?
Did they have a fire at the Madison Seminary?
I don't know. Did they ever say if there was a fire there, Mike?
Trying to remember. It's an old building, so it's always possible. There could I can't remember specifically offhand.
I don't think said anything about a fire.
I mean, if there was a fire, they didn't tell us about it, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't one at some point.
And I'm going to listen to it with headphones, okay? Because I'm just doing it right here. But right after you quit speaking, I don't know if to look over here or here, so I'm going to look here. Right after you quit speaking, it's like 5 seconds, and it's a male's voice saying fire.
Okay.
You do hear that, like the sort of like
I
an
heard
F
that
sound.
F initial for sure.
Yeah. He says fire like that. And it's weird because it's like he can't talk because his teeth are jacked up.
Oh, that makes kind of sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm gonna throw this out there from Sean Oldsmith. There's a lot of questions that kind of backed up, so I'll you guys can answer it too. Sean Oldsmith, doesn't the static from the spirit box drive you nuts? Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't like it. It does drive me nuts. So that, and I think a lot of the times we're hearing the the radio bleed over. But with this particular voiced anomaly, for lack of a better term, I mean, it was off of the white noise, not the radio. So, but yeah, that's an interesting question for you guys, because I know you do use the spirit box from time to time. So does static drive you nuts at all?
Oh, we hate it. It's really hard to decipher what's coming through until we listen to it back. That's typically when we kind of be like, oh, that's what we said. But when it's going on live, we're just like, what'd that say? What'd that say? But I'd like to find a way to possibly build like one of those little portal boxes, because it'll minimize that at some point in the future, though. I don't know about you guys and your opinion on it.
Well, I mean, honestly, even when we went to Prospect, that's another story of equipment, because he went out with all the cool equipment, the periscope and everything, and he's like, here, you can have the K2 meter. And I'm like, I don't want this. This is the lame equipment. Don't give me this. And I sat in that room for 3.5 hours that night, interacting with something through the K2, intelligent responses. And I'm like, I take everything back that I ever said about the K2 meter. Different spirits respond to different equipment, and I've learned my lesson.
And even something to link like the two Prospect and Madison together.
Yeah.
There were times where we got more evidence without the cameras through other things than having the cameras on at all.
Right.
I mean, what we picked up on the cameras would be the periscope going off or something like that. But for the most part, most of the activity we caught was, either through EVPs or, like the K2 going off at Prospect was crazy. But once you turn the camera on, it would not light up.
Although I did get a Facebook Live, I don't know if you guys saw it, Mike, but the thermoscope was going blue, and I turned to look side, and the K2 was going off, and I was like so impressed that we got it, because I'm like, it's not going to do it when I try and film it, and it did.
Right. That's good. That's really good. Let's see. Let's get to some of these other questions here, and I think I missed this one. It was from Justin Brown. It was actually back on OSR, and he asked, so we'll backtrack here just for a second, then we'll get back to the Madison questions. Did any of the women in the group experience being touched? That is a claim I hear a lot from there.
both of us felt like we were. I always wear my hair up in a big sassy bun just because I have so much hair. So every single time that we've gone to OSR, I've always felt like fingers in my hair or just like a slight pull on my hair. It's always something because it's just everywhere anyway, but or touching on like my hand or just like lightly. It's not like aggressive or anything. It's just like, oh, I'm kind of interested because you're a girl and I want to touch you.
And I know I'm not getting the poking or anything. What I was getting was a lot of like pushing my hair off of my forehead or off of my ear that kind of just brushed by feeling like not even a cobweb, but you know what I mean?
I know it sounds weird, but it's almost in reverence.
I'm sorry?
I said, I know it sounds weird, but it's almost in reverence. I think people expect when you go to a place like that it's going to be like you're walking down that hallway to get to Hannibal Lecter when
Right.
you got that dude screaming a bunch of vile things and entertaining himself. And it's not that way.
No.
You know, I mean, it really isn't. I was at West Virginia Penitentiary, and plenty of touches, but it was all in almost like, you know, woman, not I'm going to grab her boobies. You know what I mean? Is that right? I mean, is it the same for y'all?
Feel disrespectful in that way.
Exactly.
It was always like, let me brush your hair out of your face kind of feeling, or me brush your arm kind of thing. It was never anything that was malevolent or anything.
Exactly.
Okay. From Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast says, when taking video evidence, do they prefer to record with the lights on or off, and why?
Main lights or just like with our like
You're talking illuminators or just regular lighting in the room?
Answer it for both.
I mean,
We usually go lights out.
Lights
yeah,
out.
I mean,
Lights
we
out.
prefer to have lights out. We try to not even have flashlights on. We do have some 15-watt infrared illuminators on our cameras, which are really, really bright, and we have to turn them down a lot. But that's typically the only light we try to use.
full spectrum or infrared.
Yeah.
And even like when we were at Prospect, we were getting stuff with the lights on, the lights off. Like we had people, we were in the control room, which was the gentleman's parlor. And some people would be coming in, we turned the lights on. Still have activity, the K2 still be going off, everything. So we do prefer to do it in the dark, but sometimes, the light doesn't deter it. It just basically depends on what you're dealing with, who's responding to you, and the environment, I think.
I think the biggest part with the main lights being off is it makes your senses heightened. That's kind of what I like, so I'm more responsive to if I hear like a little tap or a knock that could possibly, it doesn't necessarily mean it's paranormal, but it could possibly be. So that's why I like having the lights off, because I can definitely tell that my senses are heightened too.
Now, when you guys go into a location, do you go in with prior knowledge or do you go in cold?
Like for Prospect Place, we knew a little bit of the history as far as it was like part of the Underground Railroad. We didn't do a lot of research into it. Like I didn't even know the name of the gentleman that owned it until we actually got there.
Right.
So it's just a general knowledge. I think if you know too much, then you're trying to read into what responses you're getting.
Yeah.
So like when we were in the gentleman's parlor and we got a response, we thought it was the homeowner at first, George. But then we realized he had a daughter, Constance, that was about 18, but she had the childlike mind about 5 or 6. So we were up in the playroom earlier trying to play with her, balls and different things. And I think that's who we were actually communicating with down in the gentleman's parlor. I think she kind of snuck down because when we were talking, it's like we were just like girls hanging out. And then we got that intelligent response. And it was just somebody being playful with us, and I think it was Constance that kind of followed us down.
Because it was just us girls at the time, so we were just carrying on a normal girl chat kind of conversation, and that's when the most kind of responses were starting to happen, when we were just sitting there just talking normal, not asking particular questions, just kind of going off of our own conversation.
But if you have too much knowledge of the location before you go in, I think you're setting yourself up for preconceived things that you want to hear. And you might change it into what you think you're interpreting, what you think you're hearing, when it might not be. That's not who you're talking to at all.
But Mike and I differ greatly on this.
Well, you're a psychic. You're not supposed to know.
I'm not
going in.
anything.
You know, I usually want to know as much as I can because I use that information as trigger objects, and
Absolutely.
It's not that
I'm a historian, so
right. And I know exactly what you're saying, Jill. I'm at least disciplined enough to realize when I'm going down that road of, well, I'm forcibly trying to go down this particular route when it's not existing at this point in time. So, but it is something you have to be careful of. But I know exactly what you're saying. So let me throw this at you. It's not a question, but it's a comment. I want to see what you guys make of it. And this is actually from our 6,000 subscriber winner, Naomi Jacobson. She says, being involved with the paranormal my entire life and being a sensitive empath, I like certain equipment, but I always say the best is to just bring yourself, use your own senses. So what do you think about just using your body as a tool?
Most of the time, I mean, that's what we're walking through during just like the tour of any kind of investigation that we're going on. That's when I like to, get a kind of a feel for everything. And sometimes I'll just walk into the room, not even turn on my recorder, not even turn on the camera, and just kind of stand there and, like feel the space and how everything's kind of responding. And it's not always, I mean, obviously getting evidence and showing people is really awesome as well, but sometimes just experiencing the moment and just in itself is more gratifying than, I don't know, anything that I think. But obviously it's like awesome to get evidence out to everyone and show everyone that,
Because I know, like, you guys usually have your camera, he has a camera. I have my recorder. I usually just prefer to keep my eyes open and, arms open. Don't want, like, a lot of the times unless it's freezing, like we were at Madison, it was so cold. I want to keep my skin exposed so that, I can feel when the hairs start to stand up on my arm and when I feel anything touching me. I want to actually use my eyes, my senses, instead of using a camera. Even though I think having a camera is a great thing, it's not something I want to be staring into. I want to be looking around.
Exactly. No, I'm right there with you. That's exactly how I roll. And when I'm being filmed doing it, a lot of times I get so caught up in those that are talking in my head or talking to me that those who are filming me have to say, okay, Vanessa, you've got to talk to us too. Do you find that's an issue with you?
No, not at this point. I might down the road, I might get overwhelmed, but at this point, I really haven't had that happen. I think that I'm just so new to this that if I'm getting inundated with stuff, I'm not noticing it yet. So, I don't know.
You just wait.
Oh, good. Something to look forward to.
I know, right? Do you use, like Naomi was saying, and bless her, she is psychic, because I was getting ready to discuss the same thing with you. Do you use any old school methods, going in with a notebook and a pen and writing things down that you can, confirm or deny later? Do you sketch at any locations to see what you can get in that fashion as opposed to just what you can get electronically?
No. Not at this point. I haven't done anything like that. I don't think any of us have.
You should try. It's really enlightening. And weird, but really enlightening. It's interesting, like y'all were saying, what you get from your senses, but when you physically put it down on paper and then confirm or deny later, it has a different feel to it than when you get something on film or on audio. It's very satisfying.
Well, I have about 300 notebooks that I never want to write in because I'm afraid I'll make a mistake and have to throw the whole notebook away. So maybe I can start using it for that. You know what I mean?
Mistakes are beautiful. That's how we learn.
Mm-hmm.
True enough. Yeah. So
I write every one of my books at least 3 times, so go for it.
And then I edit afterwards. So.
Exactly.
From Sean Gilmore, your buddy. What's everyone's favorite piece of equipment to use on an investigation?
I think it's pretty resounding between all of us, but it might have changed after the last investigation. But we are really big fans of the Periscope by Paranologies. Sometimes the results we've had with that have been really, really awesome. I even spoke with the owner of that company about some of the results we were having, and he said, it's very, very rare to have the responses that we were getting. So when we were at the women's ward of Madison Seminary, the end of the periscope was lit up red for about 5 minutes solid, didn't change, and basically that's supposed to detect that energy in which direction it's moving. So he says that's extremely rare for it to stay lit up like that. And my theory was that maybe the spirit was just standing there staring at us, which they thought was kind of creepy. But that was my theory. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on your favorite equipment though.
I know, like, before I would have said probably the periscope was really cool, but after sitting in that gentleman's parlor for over 3 hours and that K2 meter going off, like, intelligently, consistently for hours. I mean, to go to a place that has, you know, all those rooms at different floors, and all I wanted to do was stay in that one room, that speaks volumes to me about the K2. I really liked how it responded with that, but you're not going to get that every time you go somewhere.
Mike, somebody else has a question on here. Let me
No,
see
there's a bunch of them. I was just answering something in chat real quick. But
did you see the one about the spirit board?
yeah, that's down the list.
Okay.
So
you go first.
Well, and this can tie into it. So yeah, Jocelyn was asking about spirit boards, but Dawn also was asking, does anyone in the group use any divination tools? So that's, you know, they're all related. So any tools like that?
Pendulum.
Pendulum?
Actually, I do have a pendulum. I don't use it that often, I think, because the one that I got has like the little beads like halfway down, and I'm afraid that that's going to like be a kink in it moving. So until I can get one with an actual straight, you know, chain, I don't think I'm going to be using it, just because I think it could be skewed, what I'm interpreting off of.
Next page.
Page.
Yeah, as far as like the spirit boards and stuff, I know me personally, it may just be my own hang up. No Ouija boards for this girl. I'm good without the Ouija boards. The dowsing rods, I saw those in the room that I almost got really violently ill in at OSR, so I'm not a fan of me holding those particularly. I'm good without touching them. Other people can use them, but me, I don't. It's not for me.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of out on a talking boards.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the argument that, you know, spirit box communication is very similar to the
dowsing
Ouija
rods,
board,
anything.
But it's just I guess the stigma with the Ouija boards that kind of pushes us away from just the history that you hear, whether it's true or not, just enough to keep us away from them regardless. So
You should always do whatever makes you comfortable. So if everybody's on board and not feeling the vibe from those, then by all means continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, yeah, like Vanessa saying, comfortability, you know, knowledge of using the board, of using a device. You know, I think when people get into trouble with the Ouija boards, it's because they don't know how to use them. You know, they're marketed as a game, and so you have teenagers that start playing around with them because it's all, you know, fun and games, and they don't realize what it is that they're actually doing, and because they don't know, they invite something in unintentionally. And so, yeah, there is the stigma, but you also have to know how to use it as well. So I stay away from them, although I have had many conversations with people that use them as tools. So
I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah.
And I work with teams that use them, and I'm not a huge fan. So I completely get where you're coming from.
What about, okay, so Jill uses a pendulum. What about the pendulum boards?
It's similar.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's similar. It's divination. Tarot cards, pendulums, Ouija boards, seer boards, spirit boards, crystal balls, mirrors for doing any type of divination. Any of that can bring in a negative, you know, entity or a negative spirit. Any of it can. But it goes along with what, you know, Jill was saying earlier. If you believe that something works or something doesn't work, you're putting that power behind it. So if you already, all of you have it in your hearts that you believe that something negative could happen from a spirit board, it's the right thing to do to stay away from it, because in a way you've already opened up that door.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
But if you believe that a pendulum is fine, then you've almost protected yourself with that. I know it sounds a little weird, but it's true. A lot of this really is here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
So let me ask this question from Zippy, and then we only have a few minutes left, and I do still have Prospect Place there, so we'll try to throw all this together here at the end. From Zippy, are spirits more likely to communicate if you have good intentions? What do you think?
Are they more likely to communicate if they have good intentions?
It all depends on the spirit. I mean, like I said, I try to throw a mixed bag of tricks in there. I try, just off the wall questions that sometimes we get responses that maybe other people don't think of. Try to come in as the nice guy. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. There's no exact science to it. I mean, even sometimes I'll do slight, not real provocation, but just things to try to just test the waters a little bit. I mean, there's no exact science. We just kind of roll with it and see what works and what doesn't.
Never disrespectful at all.
No, yeah, never disrespectful.
Right.
And for me personally, I've tried putting it into the framework lately on our last investigation. We're talking to people for the most part that live their lives, that maybe they're not in the mood to communicate tonight. Maybe they're not wanting to interact with us at all. But if they do, then I feel lucky that they have, and I treat it with the respect of what we have. Like when we were at Prospect, I was in the parlor and I'm saying, I can't even imagine how beautiful this house must have been, and how brave your family was for, helping with the Underground Railroad. And that's when we started getting those crazy K2 hits, because I think they understood that I was feeling what they felt. And I think that may be why they tried to communicate so much that evening, is because you approach them as the human beings that they were, not just some spirit that's there to entertain you.
Yep, absolutely.
Bingo.
Yep, these were once people. Absolutely. So you're talking about Prospect Place. Let's bring that up. There it is.
Oh.
And this was your most recent investigation. So tell us a little bit about this one. We only have a few minutes left, but kind of give us the highlights. I mean, you were having all these different K2 interactions and what have you. And I definitely respect the way you approached your line of conversation.
It was a little weird because everybody had gone outside. I was the only one in the entire building. They were all outside. A couple of them were out taking a cigarette break, and the rest of them, I don't know what was going on. But I was in there by myself. I just turned the lights off. I put the thermoscope up on the mantle in front of the owner's portrait that was up there.
George Adams.
Yeah, and I was just kind of, talking and saying what a beautiful house this was. I can't even imagine having to have lived here and been, this blessed. I would never have a house like this in my life. It's beautiful. Talking about the Underground Railroad, and I said, did you love living here? Was it a good life for you? How brave you were, and just talking about day-to-day stuff. Is this the room that you weren't allowed to play in because it was your dad's business room? That kind of thing. When I was getting different responses on the K2, like the lights would go off, and I'm like, is my phone sitting too close to it? And it wasn't. My phone was down underneath my leg, and everything was up on the arm of the chair, so it wasn't anything that was interacting. So I just kept the same line of questioning. Basically we went through the whole, who am I talking with? Is this George Adams? And we really didn't get much off of that. And then we realized it was kind of playing with the thermoscope too, and it was flickering off and coming back on intelligently. And it's like, we're dealing with maybe, Constance. We're dealing with, that childlike mind, and she's trying to communicate with us by playing. So we kind of were talking to Constance then and asking her if she was allowed to come down and play and those kind of things. So we just, for 3.5 hours, I did not leave that room. From like 1 o'clock to like 4:30, I did not leave that room while everyone else was wandering around. Hillary did stay with me for quite a bit of it.
Yeah, it was but I mean, it was non-stop communication. It was going off, just normal questions, kind of just us talking back and forth like girls. And that's when we were getting the most of our responses, when just having normal conversation, not even asking, what's your name, how old are you, or anything like that. It's just, today was a nice day, it's really nice here. And, that's when it would flicker on, like, yeah, it is really nice here, so.
But when we were silent, we didn't get anything. So we knew that it was responding to what we were doing. If we just sat there in silence, it would sit there and nothing would change. So it was really an eye-opening thing for me. It really was.
It's a great place because it's out in the middle of nowhere, so you're not going to get any interference from anything around.
You're not going to hear cars on the road. The closest we had was the railroad going by at like 1 in the morning.
And that's another part of the history. There was the
train accident.
There's so much history to the place. It's just
yeah.
But one interesting thing that we had too when we were there, we were just doing our walkthrough and we were walking up there, just taking us on their tour, and we were going up from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor. And I don't know if anybody knows the history of the ballroom where there was supposedly satanic worship or whatever when the building was vacant. But,
back in the 70s.
But we were walking up to that floor.
Well, and they painted that cross up there because of that, right?
Yes. Yes. That is the rumor. But when we walked onto that floor, everybody smelled it, and it smelled like death. I mean, it just smelled awful.
Like decay, rot.
Like there was a dead animal on the wall.
And even the tour guide said something about it because she's been trying to keep the place clean, and she's like, there shouldn't be anything in here causing that. And by the time we were done walking through and touring that room, we came back to the staircase, and the smell was gone.
Oh, wow.
And Justin's the only one that even smelled part of the odor when we were going back down.
I still smelled it. Everyone else had left, and it was about 2 or 3 steps right before we got to the top. But then me and John went back up there about 20 minutes later. That smell was completely gone. You could not, I mean.
And the smell like that doesn't go away very quickly.
Yeah.
And that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Justin kind of made a comment when it was just me and him going up into the ballroom, and he said something about how it smelled like death up here. And then about 5 seconds passes, and you hear, it was almost like a question. And I couldn't tell if it was a woman's voice.
Lady's voice.
Yeah, but you just hear a death, like a question, and that was all we got.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, we went there and turned the light.
When the show is over, go back after Mike puts it on YouTube and watch my response the second he puts up the house picture.
You did have an interesting response, Vanessa. Why was that?
Because I smelled death.
wow.
The second he popped the picture up there, I've never seen it.
Wow.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, you did have an interesting response. So
Yeah.
you smelled death. So yeah, and if it was an animal that died in the wall, you would have smelled that all night. Anytime you went up there. So yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. We're past our hour mark. So how can people find you? What do you have coming up next?
I mean, we don't have an investigation planned yet. I know Greg, who's been kind of running the tours for St. Joseph's, he had foot surgery, so he's kind of out of commission, but we were looking to go up there. So hopefully we wish him a speedy recovery, but we'll try to figure something out to kind of replace that if he's not able to let us know what the dates are that are available. But
another one we've been looking at possibly is Old Licking County Jail.
Yep.
But of course, they're booked with them being closed like September and October for their Halloween thing that they do at the jail. So we may not be able to do that one just yet. So.
But yeah, we'll figure it out. And we have a Facebook page. It's Ohio Paranormal Syndicate, and there's like a -OPS. That's just kind of our little signature initials, OPS. So that's where you guys can find us. And just real quick, I mean, the reason why we named ourselves a syndicate, I think, is we love having other investigators, other teams come with us. For one, economical purposes, it makes it cheaper, and two, we get to share experiences with other people. So if anybody's ever interested in teaming up or linking up, let us know. We'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, because that's how we got Ectovision to come with us through Sean. And through, of course, Sean, we met some great people. Brian Marisol.
Right.
The company included Mike Ricksecker, Brian Marisol, Chris Rowand, Kelly Parker, some great people. So, yeah, we definitely want to do that when it's economical and feasible for people that are like-minded to be able to go with us on these things.
Fantastic. Well, it was great having you guys on the show. We're going to do some shout-outs and all that real quick here. So, in B3 Aerospace saying, great group of people. So, people in the chat are liking you. Sean Gilmore, Para-Unity, love it. Yep. Judy Wilson says, great guess. This went by too fast. Yeah, you guys, we enjoyed it.
Always does.
Yeah.
Always does.
It does. So let's see. Let's get to our Super Chat superstars. Tom McNicholas, Jen, and Mickey Dole. Thank you guys very much for the Super Chats. Always appreciated. And our Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons, you have Tom McNicholas, Beat 3 Aerospace, Zippy Davis, BD Flint, Pamela Queen, and Don Francisco. So thank you all very, very much for that. So
and didn't Joe Chandler?
Yeah, not the Deep Down the Rabbit Hole level, but Joe Chandler is a new Patreon patron at one of the other levels. So yeah,
I just wanted to give her a shout out for that. And I also promised my art agent, that I would give him a shout out. Matthew Virgin, hello.
Fantastic.
He's my new agent.
Fantastic. And yeah, I saw the comments down in there about ghosties. So I haven't been able to get to the post office to do the ghosties. I've been one day back at work following the surgery, and I was only at work. I didn't make it to the post office, and I'll get here pretty soon and get those ghosties out, I know. So I owe people a couple. And Robert, we need to talk about yours since you're in Australia. So, all right.
You did make an appearance at Prospect Place.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
So that's on the Facebook page too.
Oh, yeah, you guys had a lot of photos of Prospect Place, yeah. Yeah, so check that out. It's Ohio Paranormal Syndicate. So we linked it in the event to their page, so check that out, and I'll put some links down here in the description once we get everything done. So and Candy Orton, rest is more important. I've been resting. All right.
Don't
so,
listen to him. No, he hasn't.
Somewhat. I don't know. So, all right. So, Donald Gorton, thank you for handling the chat this evening, since our chat shenanigator is stuck at work tonight. One of our Cheshire cats. And then Bonnie Halperin, our other Cheshire cat, is down there as well. And then we also have Bethany Warner. Thank you for joining us again. Andrew Cox, Beat 3 Aerospace, Joe Chandler. There she is. Speak of the devil. Sean Gilmore, of course. Thank you. And thank you for, introducing us and getting us together. That's a great group of people here. Shay Carroll, thank you very much. Check out Beyond the Light Network. Did see that Chuck Banks came into the house a little while ago, so congratulations to his son. Fungi.
Love that.
I know, and everybody likes the way I say it too. Fungi. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with it. There's Dawn, Spooky Spectacular. All right. Who else we have in the house? We have Robert White, of course. There we go. Judy Wilson, thank you for the questions tonight. There is Tom McNicholas. Thank you as well. Real Paranormal Activity, the podcast. Thanks for joining us again. Interface Death, which is Justin Brown. Thank you for joining us tonight. Pamela Rainey, thank you for joining us again. She also says you sound like really nice people. Yes. There's Katie Palmer. Thank you for joining us again. Cheryl Midkiff, thanks for joining us as well. There's Zippy Davis. Thank you. Sean Oldsmith, one of our other viewers from Australia. Really appreciate that. Tim Schoen, thank you very much. He's also a new Patreon patron, by the way. And there is Diane Hilbert. We'll see you in July at Ocean State Paracon. Tammy Heitzman, there you go. Good to see you. Chipper Terry.
There was a lot.
There has been. Imani Abdella, a new viewer there. So thank you, Imani Abdella. Appreciate that. I hope I'm saying that right. Raul Pfeiffer Mueller, thank you for joining us again. Raul usually he's not usually live with us. It's usually a replay and contributes a lot of comments, so we do appreciate that. Tara Olivia, thank you for joining us tonight. So we have some new faces in the house. Appreciate that. And there's BD Flint. Hey, thank you, BD. Good to see you tonight. And we had a lot of people in the house tonight, guys. So, all right, I'm going to scroll back down and get in those last shout-out requests. And yeah, Candy has in the chat there, subscribe. If you haven't yet, please go ahead and subscribe. Would appreciate that. Imani Abdella is straight out of Egypt. Awesome.
That is so
that is awesome.
cool.
I don't know if we've had anybody from Egypt in here before. That's fantastic. Sergio Tricorico. Hope I pronounced that correctly as well. So yeah, a lot of new faces tonight. That's pretty awesome. All right, I think I have everyone at least. And if we missed anybody, do apologize. There's a lot of people in chat, and I try to get to everybody. So that will do it. Again, Ohio Paranormal Syndicate, Hillary, John, Justin, and Jill. Thank you for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate it. So hope to see you guys here again really soon. And yeah. And up next, inside the Upside Down, we are going to be talking about fake history at haunted locations. So we're going to get into some shit. All right. And Sergio is from Brazil. So awesome.
That is so fucking
Egypt
cool.
and Brazil and Australia, Canada in the house tonight. Awesome. So you guys have a great night. See you soon.
Mike.
Thanks.
Peace out.
Bye.